I'm excited to teach you how to make some sourdough burger buns using the Yudane method.
Yudane.
Trust me when I tell you this, once you taste these buns, you will never go back to store-bought buns again. When I was the baker at Langdon Hall, a 5-diamond Relais and Chateau property, I made thousands of buns. I'm gonna share a little bit of that knowledge, some of those tips with you in this video. The first thing we need to do for our sourdough burger buns is prepare our sweet stiff Levain. This Levain is gonna be at about 44 to 45% hydration with a small amount of sugar. To start, we're gonna use the water, 165 grams, 74 grams of sugar, and 125 grams of ripe active sourdough starter. And last, we're gonna add 372 grams of strong bread flour. I'm gonna put this on the mixer. This is a new mixer. I don't even know how to use it. How do you put it down? Ah, there's a little button at the back. I'm gonna start on low speed to bring the dough together, and then we'll turn it up to second speed just until it comes together. These mixers really aren't designed for making these types of doughs, so we're gonna scrape down the mixer a little bit and it'll help it come together. So I'm just gonna use the dough scraper, scrape down the sides as best I can. I'm gonna clear the dough off the hook, and as this comes together, it'll stick to itself and we should be good. So we're gonna close this back up, turn it back on. And now that the dough's come together, I can go a little bit faster. You can see the mixer jumping up and down. It really doesn't like this, but. So now you can see in the mixer the dough has come together and it's looking pretty good. In a moment, we're gonna take it out, finish it by hand, and place it into this container with a lid. All right, so our dough has come together. It's cleaned itself off the bowl, and we're just gonna finish this on the table. So I'm gonna place it in front of me, and we're just gonna knead this dough until it comes together into a nice, smooth, round ball. Once that's done, place this into the container, throw a lid on it. It almost went right on. We're gonna place our starter up here overnight. It'll rise for about 10 to 12 hours. Next thing we're gonna do is mix our Yudane. I like to do this overnight because it gives a chance for it to cool down and it just makes the process easier in the morning. The Yudane method is a Japanese bread making technique that involves mixing the flour with boiling water to create a paste, which is then mixed into the dough at a later time. This process pre-gelatinizes the starches in the flour, resulting in a softer crumb and longer shelf life. The Yudane method can also increase the water holding capacity of the dough, which leads to a moister and more flavorful final product. And let's be honest here, everyone's had a dry burger bun and it's not very good. For this recipe, we're gonna make the Yudane with water, but you could also do it with milk. To get started, we're gonna throw the flour in the bowl. This is 224 grams of strong bread flour. And we're gonna add 75 grams of boiling water. I like to measure it here first just so I don't make a mistake. And pour this right over the flour with a spatula. We're gonna mix this up until there are no dry bits of flour. So I sort of press the dough against the bowl to make sure there's no dry bits. And you can see it starts to get kind of jelly anyways. And then now, careful, it's warm. I'm just gonna use my hand to sort of bring it together. Back to the spatula, make sure I grit all the bits out of there. Once you're sure there's no dry bits, stick it in a container. I'm gonna throw a lid on this and I'm gonna throw this in the fridge overnight so that it's ready with our starter in the morning. I'm gonna get this cleaned up. I'll see you in the morning. Good morning. Time to mix our burger buns. You can see our starter has risen very well. It's reached the top of the container. But before I mix this, I just need an espresso. That's better. For this dough, we've got strong bread flour, our Yudane from last night, water, milk powder, salt, sugar, eggs, and butter. We're gonna start by putting the water, egg, then the milk powder, sugar, Yudane, salt and flour, And of course, we're gonna put our Levain. The butter, we're gonna hold back for later. Whoa, look at that. It's stuck to the lid. Just gonna scrape that off. Get that in there. Try to get all that starter in there. I guess I should have used a bit of a bigger container, so keep that in mind if you're making this recipe. It is so sticky. Gonna throw this on. We're gonna mix this on low speed for 5 minutes till the dough is together and has a little bit of gluten development, and then we're gonna add the butter. Everything is in. While this mixes, I'm just gonna get cleaned up. Our dough is mixed well enough to combine. You can see it's hanging off the hook there, and it's time to add our butter. I like to give it a little bit of a stretch. You should be able to window the dough if you just wet your fingers a little bit, and you should see that it can stretch pretty thin. Now we're gonna add the butter in chunks. Just like to place this in there, sort of like put it into the dough. Put the mixer back down, and we're gonna mix this for another 5 minutes on first, then second speed. So it'll be about 2 minutes on first, 3 minutes on second. So our dough is mixed. You can see the dough has come all the way off the sides of the bowl, and it's kind of hugging the dough hook. I'm gonna lightly oil this container. We're gonna take the dough out and place it inside. So we're just gonna take my dough out onto the table, get everything out. And then I'm just gonna sort of slap and fold this into the table just to bring it together at the very end here. Make it nice and smooth. And we're now gonna place this into our container. Boom. Throw a lid on, and I'm gonna put this in my proofer at 28 Celsius. If you don't have a proofer, you can place this somewhere warm, like an oven with the oven light on, or a microwave with some warm water, insulated cooler. But for me, I'm gonna throw it in the proofer, and we're gonna let this rise for an hour and a half. Place this on here. While I wait, we'll get all this cleaned up, and I'll see you for the shaping. Right. So it's been an hour and a half, and it's time to shape our burger buns. They've been proofing in my little proofer for just over an hour. It shot in the air. Did you see that? It shot up in the air. Like it went poof off the table. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? So this starter just blew up. Sometimes when you're making a video, you like to have stages ready, and this just blew up in the sides. So it actually literally shot off the table. Kind of crazy. Anyways, let's shape our buns. I've got 2 trays lined with silpats, and I'm gonna just pop the dough onto the table. Next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna measure our buns at 110 grams. Now, you can go a little bit smaller, depending on how big you want your burgers. 90 to 110 grams is what I'd recommend. If you wanna change the amount of buns you're making or the size of the bun, the easiest way to do that is to grab the free recipe Excel that I'll post in the comments below. That'll help you scale this recipe. It'll help you adjust it. You can add more water, less water, change the flour ratios, whatever you want. It'll allow you to customize this burger bun recipe for your bacon. So start by splitting the dough in half, and we're just gonna cut little pieces and aim for about 110 grams. So we've got 112 there. I don't like to get too particular about getting it exact, but you do not want to go over, because then you're not going to have enough to make 12 buns. I'm still in shock that the starter literally blew up in the background and shot off the table. I feel like that could be its own video. How high can my sourdough fly? How high can I shoot this sourdough off the table? If you've ever seen that, let me know in the comments, because that's a first for me. All right, so we're coming up on 12 here. I like to divide them and then pre-shape them. It just saves a little bit of energy. You don't have to set the scraper down, go to the bun. And the other thing is that way I can make sure I get all 12. Like this one is 101, so I can just take a few grams off those and we've got our 12. So the next thing I'm gonna do is we're just gonna clear a bit of space here for me. With the dough scraper, you're gonna roll this into a ball and just place it off to the side. So we're gonna roll them all with the scraper, get nice tight balls. I don't wanna go too tight at this point because after we're gonna use a pin to make this into more of a burger bun. Them now into rounds. And as I mentioned, we're not going too super tight on this. You could definitely put these buns into a pan just as soft buns, like a Thanksgiving kind of turkey bun. But today, we're just gonna roll these out a little bit. So what I'll do is I'll pick one up and I'll put a little bit of flour on it. Make sure you keep it round. And then with the rolling pin, without sort of degassing it, we're just gonna roll it into a nice round. You can also, another way to do this is to flour it lightly and then just with your hand to press it out. They both work really well. It's just whatever works best for you. These buns are resting on a sheet pan lined with a silpat. If you don't have a silpat, you can just use a piece of parchment. I like a silpat because it's a bit less wasteful. And some of these silpats I've had for a very long time. Make sure they're round. If you want to go back over them, you can. If you want your buns to be touching, sort of like a store-bought bun, you can place them a bit closer together. I'm going to try and do individual buns this time. When I was working for Daniel Boulud in New York City, we had a burger on the menu that was, I believe it was $65 or $70. Truffle, short rib, foie gras. And if you're paying that much for a burger, you really want your own bun. It kind of depends on what you're making here. And then I'm just gonna place these in a bag. I like to put the bag so there's a bit of air in them. Place this off to the side. Grab my other bag. Place this off to the side, and we're now gonna let these rise just at room temperature for about 3 hours. If you have a proofer that's big enough, you could proof them at 28 Celsius, but this little proofer doesn't quite fit the tray, so we're just gonna leave them at room temp. I'm gonna get this cleaned up and I'll see you in 3 hours. Okay, 3 hours are up. Our buns are nice and poofy, and it's time to bake them. So let's take off the bags and see what we've got. Oh, they look amazing. They're nice and light to the touch, spring back with a little indent. We're gonna egg wash these and get them in the oven. Now, I've got a mixture of sesame seeds here, optional of course. We also have to make an egg wash. I've got 1 egg in here. I'm just gonna shake this up really well, and we'll use that for the egg wash. Nice even coating. And then I'm gonna put my sesame mixture on top. Of course, you could use poppy seeds or whatever seeds, a little flaky salt or nothing. If you just want plain buns, that's cool too, up to you. So once you've egg washed your last bun, we're gonna take our sesame mixture and just put an even liberal coating. I like to put a lot. You do whatever you want, but I find it looks a bit nicer and gets a bit flavor contrast if you put a lot. We got seeds on them. We're gonna bake these in the oven at 400 degrees for about 20 minutes. Burger buns are out and they smell unbelievable. Look at that, soft, pillowy, light. Hey, if you got this far in the video, you might as well give a like and a subscribe. Obviously, I'm doing something right if you've stuck along this long. I hope you make these burger buns. So we're gonna get them off the tray to cool. And then we're gonna make some burgers, of course. And I don't know about you, but I'm pretty hungry. Burgers are off the grill, and let me tell you, they smell amazing. These buns are so good. This is a winner. Let me know in the comments what you think of this recipe, and I'll see you in the next video.
So we are going to make the burger buns. It's going to be good